Yeah, we're live again. Woo! Hell yeah. Um, so, welcome back to another tips video. Um, I'm doing this for the algorithm, but also because I enjoyed the last one thoroughly, and so I'm going to do another one, except this one is a little different. This one is going to be about the more advanced. I say advanced, but like it was the nicest word I can think for being like getting better or being in the middle of the road. You're like, I'm still learning, but at least I'm enjoying it, and you know all that pish posh. But the main thing is, you've gone through the beginner stuff. You've grooved. You found your friends. You found your comrades. You've run maybe like one or two sessions of the like the starter pack one, or you've actually found yourself looking at um, some of the other modules that people have made, and you've run through them and you've completed them. They may have taken like one session, they may have taken 5, 10, whatever it may be, but you've done your first run as a DMGM, and you're pretty happy. Your party's like, hell yeah, that was sick. um, they're like, we want to do more, because it's pretty much like a drug. Once you start doing it, you want to do more. Like, you literally want to keep playing more and more and more. And that one session per week becomes, I'm happy to do 2 or 3, or my 2 hour sessions happy to do 4 or 5, and you get into the rhythm of it, and you just want to keep doing more because it's a lot of fun. So you've done all that. You've managed to find your comrade, your party, and like I said, you've done what you need to do there. Um, you've been successful, obviously, because you're up to this part where you're like, hey, I just ran a full campaign with my friends. Now I want to do maybe a homebrew one, or I want to run a module one that's a bit longer, a longer one that maybe it's a bit harder. It's more involved with the role playing side of it. I have to get into more characters. There's more NPCs. There's more at stake. There's more things I have to worry about, rather than just kind of following along the lines of what the rule book or the core book says. And you're like, maybe I want to move away from what the core book says. Maybe the book says I can go to these 5 cities, but I want to make up another 3 cities, so there's 8 cities. That's where you take the time to reflect, and you move away, and you're like, cool, I want to do some cool things. I'm going to think about some stuff I can do. And that's where the advanced tips come from. So that's what we'll discuss tonight. We went through the beginner ones here. We talked about, where to start, homebrew, pre-written, do what you want to do, all that stuff like that. How to get your inspiration, names, places, everything like that. Session 0, which is very important. Run the actual session, which is awesome. And then you've got the player agency, what you could do, improvisation, all that stuff. And then also some handy websites you can use for finding names and everything like that. But that's your beginner stuff, where you're like, I'm getting into it for the first time. Where do I start? So we went through that. You can watch the other video, which is now saved on both our Twitch and YouTube channel. So you can do that, and it's up there forever. So whenever you want to watch it, go for it. You can reference back to it. I probably will make an updated one later when I think of more stuff, because every time I make one of these streams or videos, I immediately remember stuff that I should have said, and I was like, cool, it is what it is. But yep. So same thing with the advanced one, and then the expert one's the end one. The expert one is like stuff that I learnt and everything like that. Jesus Christ. That gives PTSD hearing level up. That's a PTSD moment for every DM. Do we get a level up? Yeah, actually, we'll do that. And ready? Do we get a level up? That's actually a very good idea. Thank you for that. XP or milestone. We'll go through that too. So, we'll start easy. Like I said, you are now getting into more advanced sessions. You're trying to make it a vastly more integrated part of the world that you're in. You're trying to be more descriptive of the surroundings. You're trying to make the backstories more important. You're trying to make everything essentially a grander scale than what it was. So just reading the books, you want to envelop the books. You want to get the party really into the books, and you want to get them into your story, and they're really grasping it and all that stuff. So that's what we'll go through tonight. So we'll start easy and light. So we'll go music. If you're going physical, music is a lot easier to pretty much get up and running. You can have a TV, speakers, whatever you want to do like that to kind of get the mood going. You can find plenty of music either on YouTube, like you've got literally like this like 1 hour sessions of music, like relaxation music or medieval tavern music or anything like that, where it's because you're not streaming, you'll be within your own home. It's no copyrighted, and I'm not going to play it for that reason. You'll be fine to play it, and it kind of it gives a more, it makes you feel more attuned to what's happening. You feel more like you're actually in a tavern or you're actually on an adventure and stuff like that. So YouTube's really handy. Or if you have your phone, this is the one app that I use, and it's remarkable. It's called Pocket Bard. Pocket Bard. What it is essentially once you've loaded it up, it gives you a list of places or settings. And what you do is after that, you actually just pick the place or setting. It can be anything from, like plains, a village, forest, city, darkstretch, graveyard, dungeon lair, whatever it wants to be. And then you click on it, and then you actually plays a very generic kind of fantasy-esque music from that area. But then what you can do is after that, if you want, you can actually change it so if you want rain in the background, or if you want the intensity of the music to pick up, so when the battle is starting to go your way or not in your favor, you can have the music actually become like really trombone-y, so it gets really like going, and they're like, oh shit, we're in deep combat here. Or you can bring it down, but you can add essentially a whole slew of extra effects, which are really handy. Which is really cool because like it starts to get like into the like people you're describing, like for instance, like you're walking up to a mountain top and it's snowing and it's freezing and you can hear the crackling of ice shards above you and stuff like that within the cave, and the cave is echoey, so you can have the sound of rain or snow in the background, or the sound of wind gushing when they're inside the cave just going past the actual thing. So all that stuff is available through the app. There is a paid one and there's a free one. I just used the free one. That's not saying you don't have to, but a lot of it is perfectly fine on the free version. Oh yeah, like I said, ambience and weather. The victory one's actually cool. We get a little fanfare if you win a battle and stuff like that. And then yeah, so it's very handy. It's awesome. I've been using it for a while, and it's come in clutch quite a bit. So I recommend that because it's a free app and it's easy to use. And the dudes behind it are actually really dope. They're actually really cool, and they care a lot about building ambience when you're playing in an actual session. So give that a shot. Or YouTube, like I said. There is like a bunch of actual programs out there that are designed specifically for D&D music you can get as well. But either way, when you're in person, like I said, you can have music in the background going just to kind of build the ambience and build the kind of like rapport and everything like that, where you're like, oh, I want to make them enveloped in the story or the location. When you're doing digitally, it's a little harder, because if you do, like we do it through Discord, and I finally found a program that actually allows music that I play through my computer to be heard from everyone else in the chat or in the video call. So when we do our next session, hopefully it works and you'll actually be able to hear the music I'm playing in the background, which is awesome because then that doesn't involve like a bot or a mod or anything like that they can muck up. It's just I have to remember to it, and I find it's easier. So that's something I'm hoping you'll see when you're here, when you actually listen to our session next week. It's next week. I'm actually really excited. So yeah, that comes down to music. It's not too big of a deal. It's very simple. It's very easy. Like I said, a plethora of places you can get it from. It's not that big a deal to worry about music. It's very easy. This is a big one. So, like I discussed on the previous stream about the beginner ones and voices and all that type of shebang, a lot of people are put off. So, this is something you can essentially discuss in your session 0, where you can talk to your party and discuss whether or not they're happy to try and do voices, or they're happy to do role playing, or I should say voices and then RPing as well. So role playing. This is like this is a big deal for a lot of people. So a lot of people aren't comfortable with you doing the voices and hearing them, because then they feel obliged to kind of either match your energy, or not just match your energy, but try and put it on their own for their characters. And they may not be comfortable doing that or want to. So this is another session 0 thing. It's good. So discuss with them. You're like, hey, I want to do them. You guys don't have to do them. You can just be your own characters. I just want to do it because I like to get kind of, engrossed in the character I'm creating. But they don't have to. Discuss it with them. See if they're okay with it, and if they're okay with you doing it, and they want to, it pretty much any way which way you want to do it. And then once that's all done, and you're like, cool, let's move on from there. You can do your voices. So the weird thing with voices is, and this is another thing where a lot of people don't do it because they're scared they'll sound silly, although their voice might match another NPC, because every campaign's got a lot of NPCs, and you might sound very similar to another one, but then you think about it and you're like, well, actually humans in general sound really similar to each other. Like, we just have slightly different octaves in our vocal cords and stuff like that, but like if we all talk in a generic tone, like we all sound very similar. Like, we can pretty much match each other with practice. So never feel silly doing a voice because you think that maybe you might accidentally be doing like for instance, like the dwarves do it done like this, and when they're done in the mines and everything, they're digging for ore. I mean, you can do it all like that. You can do like the Scottish one, and it's a little different, but he does come out. It sounds really similar, but it's a slightly different variation of it. But you may be like, oh no, it sounds the same. I'm not comfortable with that. Blah blah blah. I don't want to do all that. Or you might be like, no, it's because a lot of dwarves do sound like that. Like they have a very different, not that too different kind of variations in their voice. So that's what you're going to kind of come up with, where you're like, hey, yep, all the dwarves who sound the same. Like I said in the last one, maybe if you want to start with voices, pick your main NPCs and have your main NPCs have very distinct voices, and then everyone else can have kind of a generic male, female, in between, whatever you want, voice. That way you don't have to kind of remember or worry about having so many voices kind of in your arsenal ready to go, if that makes sense. And you might feel more comfortable because you're like, oh cool, I remember Calistraz, the specific NPC I made, who's got a really big like, I only fight for my friends, and only they were the ones who I get angry for. Only I can be protecting them, like that. And then you can be like, you can remember that and be like, cool, that goes to him. He's like a knight and something like that, and I just remember that's his voice. And then for everyone generic, you can be like, well, welcome to this tavern, and everyone, softer voice, lower voice. It doesn't matter. Either way, you can kind of be like, oh, okay, I understand. I can be pretty much like generic. Generic is a good word. Sorry. Yeah, you can just be generic. You don't have to. You don't have to be over the top. And another one that I definitely bring up is, don't ever think you need to compare yourself to other people. This is the whole critical role effect. Like, it's not their fault. It's the critical role effect of kind of RPing and voices, where they're professionals, so they are able to flip a switch and remember that voice and do that voice like immediately. Like that is they're trained to do it. That's their job. Whereas you may know I've never had training in that. I'm just a regular person with a regular 9 to 5 job. I just like playing Dungeons and Dragons and I like doing voices, but they may not sound great. And you know what? That is fine. That is a-okay to be that way at all inclined. It is, and this is why it's good to play with friends that you know, because they're more likely to be like, that's fine, we don't care, whatever, it is what it is. You know what I mean? If you're playing with like randoms, and they have some very high kind of like, you know, they're expecting you to be Matt Mercer 2.0 or Brendan Lee Mulligan 2.5 or something like that, and you're like, I'm not comfortable doing that. Don't be. Just discuss it with them and say, hey, I'm not them. I'm just a normal guy or a woman, sorry, that just wants to play Dungeons and Dragons for you guys, and I'm happy to do it. So, yeah, that's a major thing. Like a lot of people get hung up with the comparing and stuff like that, and it's something I always say. Like don't ever don't ever think that you're not good enough, because a lot of people get turned off being DM because they're worried they're not going to be good enough, and they're worried they're not going to be good enough because they're like, oh no, I'm not gonna be good enough, and they're gonna judge me and not gonna have fun. It's a whole thing. So, yeah, it's don't ever be that whole like, oh, I need to be like Critical Role. You don't. You just need to be yourself, and you need to find a group of people that are happy to do what you want to do with you. That's the main thing. That is the main thing. Yes. So it's difficult. It's difficult for some people to kind of admit. They're like, I reckon I could do that and try it, and then they fall flat and they feel discouraged. It is hard. Sorry. Yeah, sorry. Yes, it is like that. So, voices, do what you want to do. Something that I do that helps kind of practice is if you're driving, and of course you're in your own car, so you don't have to feel that kind of like embarrassment of something else listening and all that shebang and stuff like that. You can just do it for yourself. It's just practice in the car. And I mean practice by remembering kind of like a conversation you had in a session, and practice maybe that NPC could have had a unique voice. If they had a unique voice, say it in that voice. And you do it over and over and over and over until it just becomes like second nature. You're like, oh, cool. I remember now. I can do that when I want to do that. And you can do that with movies. You can do it with music. You can kind of sing the songs in a specific character's voice that you're practicing until it becomes second nature. And then you can try to drop it. Like, orcs sound like a lish when they talk. They have their kind of teeth popping out, so they're a gruff-looking men. And they want to fight things with their bare fists whenever they can, So, that's a generic orc voice you can do. But if you want to get that, like, we understand perfectly fine when the war started and we weren't there to help. The more gruff general like one. But it's just a variation of that. And you just remember those voices whenever you want to pull them out. So orcs have that kind of generic one, and Scottish ones for dwarves and stuff. And you can be like, oh, I remember, it's a dwarf, so I'll just do that. So like I said, practice in the car. Do it. Find a place you're comfortable. You can just kind of talk to yourself. It's a little silly. You can like talk to yourself and you're like, kind of people think you're crazy. But if you feel like you're getting better at it because of it, and that your party members are enjoying it, then it is all worthwhile. 100% worthwhile your time to do it. And also, you practice makes perfect. You will get better at it. 100% you'll get better at it, and that's what you want. That's what you want out of it. So yes, voices and RPing. So with role playing, with your party, in players and yourself, they can either role play if they want, or if they don't want to role play, they are able to just be present. So they may be like, let's make a decision about what we're doing, and one person might be like, they'll be color stressing. They're like, I want to go over here and I want to get some new armor and stuff. I feel like I deserve it with the money we just won. And everyone else can just be like, yeah, no, that sounds like a good idea. Yeah, X player wants to go do this and stuff like that. But they don't put a voice. They don't want to role play. They're just talking about the actions they want to do. And that is fine because that's what they wish to do. So role playing is something not everyone wants to do. It's a little more difficult because if you want to be a DM or GM, you're almost forced into doing those kind of roles. Like you have to do them, unfortunately, because it's part of being a DM and stuff like that. So you have to sort of pretend still to be that character to have a conversation with the players. So you're more likely to consistently role play. And some people do it on a scale of like full blown, like, my ex-wife ran away, so now I'm a painter. I'm a lonely bar, but I also like to paint pictures on the weekends and stuff like that. Really get into it, backstories and stuff. Or they're just like, oh hey, like, my name's Lucas, and I run the local tavern. Welcome. Like, that's fine. Both are perfectly fine. Neither is wrong with the other one. It depends on what your players are comfortable with, because like I said, they may not be able to match your level. Because you want to be a DM or GM, you're automatically going to be like, I want to be way grandiose with stuff. Whereas the players may not want to match that, may want to be more mellow or entry level and stuff like that. So you coming along and being like, what can I get you? I've got the finest ale in the entire realm, And like, you describe it classed, this giant barrel of ale down and starts pouring you one before you have a chance to speak and stuff like that. The other players may be like, hell yeah. And they go, yeah. X player goes, I want to sit down, pop him a copper, and you're like, giving me one for myself and my 3 comrades here. And they start going, my name's this. Have you heard any stuff? Other players might be like, oh yeah, I sit down and I drink some of the ale. And I give him some of the money. And it's like, that's fine. Both are fine. Both are fine for role playing. Both work really well. And so, yeah, just like I said, session 0, discuss with your teammates, like, hey, my energy level as DM, GM might be up here, like, much higher. You don't have to match me. If you're uncomfortable with me being that high, I can bring it back down to, like, your level where we're just having a normal conversation. I'm not being a character. I can describe the character, and I can talk like them, but I won't do voices or anything. So that's pretty much voices and role-playing, where you decide, alongside your character players, what you're comfortable with. And you can usually gauge it. As a DM, you can kind of see if you're losing them. If you're all of a sudden they're just kind of like, I don't know what to say to this person because I'm uncomfortable, then you're like, cool, done. That kind of really eccentric bartender is now generic bartender number 64. And he just offers drinks, and he has rumors for a right coin. Done. That's fine. And you bring them back into it. So that's those two. Also, welcome to anyone who has started watching now, and if you want to go back to listen to the last 3 points I have, you can. But thank you for joining. So we're up to maps now. Maps is very broad, and when I mean like maps, it can be anything from when you're first creating your world and your country map with different factions and different countries or different continents or different places and stuff like that, all the way down to your actual battle maps. It encompasses all of it. So if you're homebrewing and you're like, I want to make a full blown, I want to homebrew every part of it, kudos. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work that you have to do, and it's a lot of work that the players definitely probably won't see and don't take it to heart, may not care about, because it's like, it's your invention, not theirs. They may be like, I don't care, but you still do it for your own, like, self-gratification when you're like, I really like that I came up with this backstory. They may not care, but I do, so that's fine. Always take that as a grain of salt. Don't ever fully require your party to be involved in it, because you're going to push them away. So you can make maps. Then you can make town maps. So if you're like, hey, you can describe the map to the players, which for a lot of towns and stuff it's fairly easy to do, or like capital cities, some of them are very easy to do and everything. That is correct, yes. To fill in the blanks with the characters to get them invested in the overall world. Correct, yeah. Especially if the world you've given them, like for our one, like it's just in the realm of Dungeons and Dragons. I haven't created a specific world that is different or homebrewed because it was easier to slot characters into a pre-established world. But the Fae is vastly different. So when they're going into the Fae, it's a different version of the Fae that they're used to. So the Fae I'm running is my own version of the Fae. The Feywild, I should say, sorry. So, it's this whole lollipops, rainbows, the air smells like popcorn, and the clouds taste like cotton candy. It's weird shit like that. But the one I'm having is pre-war. So, like, there was a war 1,000 years ago and has divided the Feywild into two, like, essentially light and dark sides of it, both run by archfey sisters, Tasha and Tiandra, or Titiana, Titiana, if you want to say. So either way, it's slightly different, and then you can grab that character and be like, hey, this is how the world works, what's your backstory, and would you like to contribute to it? Get your players involved. It's always fun. Or they can make a generic backstory and you can be like, hey, do I have permission to go ham? And most time they'll be like, yeah, I'm down for that because I like mystery. So that's some good stuff you can do. But with maps for towns and stuff like that, sometimes it helps for visual players. So a lot of players are, the theater of the mind is a little difficult for them. So if you can have something visually for them to like go, oh, I understand, like this is where this is and this and that, they can refer back to them. Or at least just draw them something really generic they can see. That helps as well. So that's something I need to start doing more, is like generic maps of the towns so they can actually get a better run. Especially Anvil, the big one they're getting to, it's large. It's large. It's kind of circular, so it's understandable, but like where quadrants are and where things are, it can get a little finicky. So that's something we'll get to before. And then battle maps, the last ones, which are like your combat maps. If you're doing physical, you can buy tiles, you can buy eraser boards, you can buy one-time fold-out maps, you can buy everything you want, and it's all like, some of it's free, some of it you just need printer and paper. Like you just go online and download free black and white battle maps, get them, and they come out in like A4s, and you stick your tape them together to make a big one, and it all it costs is the cost of ink and like paper, really, like that's it. So they're very easy, and a lot of people online make some amazing ones. Like for instance, I've got plenty of book ones. Like Incarnate's a great one. Incarnate, like legitimately, like have people who have made these massive maps, uploaded them, and then you can download them for free, or you can pay them and stuff like that, or you should also make your own. But there's just so many that you can download and incorporate into your own campaign the way you want, which is really handy because then you can kind of build your narrative around the map. So if you're like, I'm not too good with drawing and stuff like that, you can grab other people's maps and be like, hey, I'm going to utilize this map and incorporate my story into it. That is a much easier way for someone who's first getting into it and making their own map, because it's harder to kind of make a story and then make a map based around that story, simply because some people you may go, oh, it's not right, I'll never be right, blah 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 blah, I can't do this and stuff like that, and it's too hard and daunting tasks like making a story and making maps. The other way is, like I said, you can do the reverse, find the map and then revolve the story around that to make it fit your specific location, characters, NPCs, story, whatever you need to be, and it makes it much easier on you as a DM and your prep time. Because when I talk about prep time, some people do 30 minutes, some people do 6 hours, some people do like days. I know someone who definitely did days, and we love them for it, but it's up to you. So if you're the one of person's like, I don't have enough time, this is a good way to kind of like cut down on it. And that way you can do it that way. And then you've got another one, which is Milbeast maps. So that's a great one as well. There's a full like annotated maps. They've got like download ones. I got night and day ones. Like it's great. There is like an absolute shit ton of maps online you can find and go for your life with them. So look up maps online, and then, like I said, utilize them to the way you want to use them. That's a much easier way to do it. And it's not any less professional because you're kind of still having to incorporate your own thoughts and patterns and ideas into a map you've already got. Yeah. It's still at it tonight, I believe. It's very true. It's a very good chance. DM prep is... I won't tell you my DM prep because it's like... Oh, actually, no, fuck it. It's like a 50-50 a 50-50 between I really love improv. I thrive on improv. I think I am really good at on the spot creation. There are certain things within the campaign we're running now that are on the spot creations, and I am so proud of them. And the other ones I pre-did, and sometimes they don't run as well as my improv stuff. So what I do is I do 50-50, where I will make essentially maps, ideas, NPCs, all that stuff like that, ready to go. And then essentially after that, I will just get a generic map and then leave it open-ended. And then I will describe the scene and then put maybe some stuff on the side where they can't see because we use Roll20, so tokens are on the side. All that type of stuff. Onto the side, and then whenever they do it, I'll be like, cool, this happens, or this happens, or this happens, or this person. Like it's a lot of agency and a lot of improvisation, and that's what I like. But everyone's different. Some people like to have full control over the things that they want to do, and so when they have full control and everything like that, that's for the people who are like, oh no, if it goes a bit haywire, I don't like that. But it's it's free agency, and a lot of things don't really go a lot of the way that people want. So that's how that works. So that's how prep time works for that. So do what you're comfortable with. If you want to spend all day doing it, and you by the end you're like, oh, I'm sick. I'm really happy with that, stuff like that. By all means, go for it. You never let anyone tell you otherwise. But if you're like, cool, I want to just simply do what I do, which is the 50-50 mark, do that too. It depends on the person. I love improvisation. I think I'm good at it, and I really like it a lot. Especially some of the NPCs I make up are pretty much like, they weren't going to be a thing, and now they're like major people. So I like that. But each person's different. So yeah, so that's maps. This one's a lot longer. We're getting there. Now, this is a big one. So this one specifically is regarding, I would say, essentially homebrew, but you can also, like I said, when you're doing a core book and you're changing some of the characters to be, whoops, I spilled water on myself, the way you want to be, like Strahd's a good one where it's about vampires and he's a vampire lord and he wants to be a bit different. You can make him the way you want. This is another part of prep. Do what you're comfortable with. So let's start with, I did it backwards. We'll do main stories. So you want to make a homebrew. We'll go with homebrew because it's easier. You want to make a main story. Your best thing straight away is to have your opening of how your party members meet up, how they come together, everything like that. Their starting area, kind of the reason that they're together, or the reason that the main campaign starts. So ours was, they all got a ticket to the Witchlight Carnival. They all met up at the Witchlight Carnival and they joined together because of Fleur's false ticket. And then once she got her real ticket, they stuck together because they're like, hey, I don't know anyone here. You've helped me out. Let's stick together. And then essentially I thought Child was coming in. They were the only 4 members of the Witchlight Carnival that weren't affected by this time loop that's currently happening in the Witchlight Carnival, where the day is consistently restarting and everything restarts and no one has any recollection of or memory of this happening except for the 4 campaign characters, and Mr. Witch, who is very sick of it. Essentially, he's like, I am so done with repeating the same day over and over. And more people are getting invited to the carnival, and they're getting stuck in there. And essentially, like, you would think that people on the outside are like, hey, like, what's going on? Where's the person that I know and stuff like that? Where have they gone? What's happening with them? Which I haven't got to that point yet. There's a reason for it. But, yes. So that was the way I got them into it. So they're like, Mr. Witch is like, guys can, like, the pocket watch that is the all-encompassing timekeeper for the Witchlight Carnival. The one thing that Mr. Witch is, Mr. Light. Mr. Light is the one that's not affected. Mr. Witch is. He's like entranced by the watch. He's like, the all-encompassing watch is broken, and ever since it broke, this is what's been happening, and the pieces are not in the Witchlight Carnival. I think I can get you out, and then they do happen to be able to get out. So they're able to get out into the Fae because they are not physically tied to the Witchlight Carnival, unlike everyone else. Everyone else is like, they can't leave. They have no recollection. Like, their memories are wiped, and every day is a new thing. I mean, it's cool, but also like, it's they have no idea that they're trapped there, and so that's how we started with that. But yours might be different. Yours might be like, hey, like everyone makes the joke of like, you meet in a tavern, which is fine. It is, and I had this discussion with my brother literally a couple of days ago. If you think logistically about D&D and what setting it's in, which is usually medieval fantasy, like the most common one, there's not a lot to do. In general, there's not a lot of things you can do in medieval times except, your day job and drink. So meeting up in a tavern may be generic, but by God, you're pretty much usually going to be there. If you were to think realistically about the kind of setting and time period, you would be there. You would be at a tavern because you're like, I've done adventuring, I've killed bandits, I've done this, I've got my gold. I want to sleep and I want to drink and get food. So starting in a tavern is not like, oh, not again. It's very much like, logistically think about it. Where else would you be? If you're an adventurer, you finish your quest, what are you going to do? You're going to go back out in the middle of the night to go adventuring again? No, you're tired. Otherwise, you get exhaustion points. You need to rest. Where are you going to go to rest? Fucking tavern. And you meet people there. So, yeah. It's... Oh, you're going to make me blush there, boy. I like the carnival too. There's more than one carnival too, so I've prepped more carnivals for you guys. So... It's never be afraid to start in a tavern. Never be afraid to also start a little differently, like a prison. Like you got locked up for certain things. Actually, many years ago, a campaign I was in started with similar to a one shot we ran. Started with the 4 characters getting sold straight into slavery, and they were like full warriors, like they were powerful and stuff like that. So they were knowing what they were doing, but they all specifically got captured, weapons taken off them, armor taken off them, sold into slavery, and they had to break out of this slavers camp by forming a coup, like this riot of slavers who basically overthrew by using sheer numbers and kind of because their will were broken. So the newer ones coming, going, "Come on, guys, let's do this!" Like all they needed was a couple of weapons to get the ball rolling, and the snowball just went from there. They managed to break out, destroy the slaver camp, kill majority of the people there. The warden of this camp was slaughtered alive. They took his gold possessions, handed it out to everyone so they had something to go on. And then they essentially went, cool, I feel great about this. You guys want to stick together because I think I want to kill more slaver camps. And they're like, yeah, let's do that. There was a main campaign, but it was a really cool way of starting a campaign that was somewhat different than just your usual one. Like I said, nothing wrong with the usual ones, but it was a cool one. So sometimes it helps for inspiration. Look at movies. Look at the ways movies start. Specifically, sometimes you can watch, and it seems silly, but like action movies. Action movies have a lot of we started in the middle of a war, or we started in the middle of a conflict, and we were, You can use a backstory and be like, we were actually blood brothers, we're soldiers and stuff like that. Like, we're ready to go and fight for our people. You can do that. Watch movies and utilize them in the way that you think, I could tweak this in a way that has a unique start, and then fit your main story into that to kind of engross your characters and make it a little bit different. Then, once you have your start, you need your end. So it's very easy to make a start. It's a lot harder to have an ending to your story, simply because you then have to think of, how am I going to make it happen that my characters get from A to Z. So that's hard because it's a lot of filler, but at least you know, at least you have your ending ready to go. It may change, but at least you have your ending ready and finished and go, I know where the end goal is. You know there's definitely an end goal. Don't be like the writers of Lost. Just don't be them. Fuck, that makes me angry thinking about that now. It's borderline PTSD. There's morons ruining that show's ending. Oh, watch interviews of them, because they went into that show not having an ending. And that's why the ending sucked balls. God, I hated it. I loved that show too. But man, have an ending. At least something not super massive. You maybe it's like, I have a good idea of what I want to go to, but have a cool like idea, because then you can be like, the journey to get there can take this way or 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 this way, whichever way you want it to go. But eventually you can be like, cool, I'm leaving breadcrumbs of where they need to get to and something like that. Like something, you know, an NPC may mention seeing a underling of the big bad, and you're like, oh yeah, we have to find him and go do that. Like for us, they've been given a compass that has a magical pull in the direction of the pieces, because it's tuned to the pieces are missing from the pocket watch. So if the guys are ever like, oh, like, you know, we're doing something else in the sometime, at least they can be like, well, we know where to go next, because they have to simply follow the kind of magical assistance of this pocket watch, not pocket watch, compass, sorry. You may think of different things. You may think of something like, you know, they've got a similar to like One Piece and the Vivre cards. You can be like, we have like bits of paper that are wanting to go back to, you know, the parchment they came from, or something like that. So having cool pulls and strings and stuff to get to the ending helps. And having very awesome like middle story parts as well, like pivotal story parts, are important too. So your start and end are your most important. Have them good to go, especially I would say definitely the ending is, I said it wasn't important, but like I've changed my mind, it's important. Just so that you know when you're getting through your campaign, that you can kind of have in the back of your mind, oh good, we're about 60% of the way there, because you're like, they're getting to the point where they're going to start unlocking secrets about the big bad, or they're going to unlock all these new cool items that are going to lead to the big bad. It's anything like that where you're like, that's what's currently happening. So have you start and the ending. The middle is fluff. There are definitely parts of it that are important to it. There are definitely parts that are super duper critical to the story. Like, you know, our campaign is finding those bits of the pocket watch, and once they find them, they go, I know that's a core part of the campaign done. Like that is a crucial core part. They need 4 parts to fix the pocket watch and finally help the Witchlight get back to get back to running the way it's supposed to be, and releasing people from being captives. They don't know they are, essentially. But you have that kind of drop points, like they're like basically save points where you're like, cool, we've hit a milestone or a checkpoint and stuff like that, and you're like, I can see the progress they're making. And so the rest of it, that's where it comes down to your improv, or basically the towns you make, or the people you meet, or like side quests you want to do sometimes. And it's happening right now where they're doing something that will help the main campaign, but it's in no way attributed to the overall story of what they're trying to get to. Like they're basically joined a militia, and they're trying to stop a vampire princess from basically going full Blair Witch and like going pure evil and like destroying everything. She is like slowly poisoning and taking over this forest, and her grasp and her army will sweep that land. And they're like, no, no, that's not on. So they're trying to stop that. So that's a side quest that doesn't really need to happen, but I made it, and I was like, do you want to do it? And they agreed to. So that's what's happening there. But your fluff in the middle is up to you. Have, I would say, crucial points that move the core story along to get closer to the ending. And that's important for you to think of, especially when you're like describing major places or cities or NPCs. Go, is this where it's going to lead to a pivot point of the story that's going to move it forward closer to your ending? So that's kind of how main stories work. Essentially, like, definitely have a start. Most likely you should have an ending. I would hope you would. It helps a lot, especially because like the middle, you can see the traversal getting to it, and you're like, cool, they're going to get to it, and they're building up to it, and you can kind of flesh out little bits here and there that like help with, like, you know, who's the big bad and stuff like that. Not every campaign has a big bad. I haven't told actually our campaign whether or not they have one yet. That's the fun part. But like, it's all a mystery, and you get to build that mystery in the middle, and that's the most fun part. The revelation at the end is also like hypercritical, because like it's the climax. Everyone's like, oh my god, I didn't see that coming, whatever. But like the middle part is also very important. That's where you can have the most fun. Backstories. This is where you can have even more fun. So you have your comrades that are joining you on this mystical adventure through wherever you're going, and they've created sometimes three things: a fully engrossed massive backstory with a lot of detail, and you're like, sick, you try and work it into it. Basically one where they've created which is, I think, all of ours with this, where they've given you a decent backstory but left a lot of it open to interpretation for the DM or GM to incorporate it into their story and then mold it to the way they want. And as long as the party is fine with you messing with their characters a bit, I don't mean like fully like destroying them, but like making their backstories integral to who they are, and then they flow with it, go for it. Or number three, which is they've given you nothing. They're like, I have no idea. I just like my character sounding cool. He can be like this. He's got a very generic past, or she's got a very generic past, but nothing that you can kind of create saying out of. That's a harder one. Those ones, essentially what you can do is session 0 or just one-on-one. Say, hey, would you like me to create your backstory, 1 or 2 or 3 of them, and you pick which one you like, and we'll run with that. That seems to work better with the ones I've done, where I'm just kind of like I've already given them the tools to succeed, and then they just grab them and go, I like this one. I like that character being like, you know, an ex-naval hero, so he's really good with boats, and he's an ex-captain and stuff like that. You can do stuff like that. Then the backstory, the backstory part is where and how you incorporate it into your overall main world. So this is there's 2 ways people do it. I might sound a little judgy here, and whatever, it's my stream, but I like having backstories that move in tandem and alongside the main campaign, so that as the campaign's moving, the characters are growing as people. So they're coming to realizations, and things are happening that mean by the time they get to, say, the 3/4 mark or the end, they have had their resolution, they have grown as people, they have become more powerful, they have achieved what they wanted to achieve, and the end, which is big, bad, or not, ends with a climax, and it comes to a very beautiful, concrete, and nicely formulated ending. That's the way I prefer it. The other way is that backstories become almost mini main stories, and the kind of party is just dragged along with them. I don't like that. Some people think it's great, and I'm like, once again, I'm never going to judge anyone the way they do it because everyone's different, and some people prefer it. That's the thing. Everything's a preference. But you can definitely do those, and the way they work really well sometimes is if your characters are like they get to a main city, for instance, and it's that noise. Oh, my window's open. Everyone else, I can hear me. Hello, people. That works really well because sometimes they can get overwhelmed with the sheer content drop you've just given them. And so our party will soon find out, Anvil is filled to the brim with activities. And I mean shit tons to do. And sometimes it can be like, what do we do first? And that's when you can be like, oh, well, this is a main trade hub. Let's incorporate some backstory and progression into one of the characters. And it can be as simple as they enter into main city, X name, whatever it might be, we'll call it Villa. And so they enter Villa, and so they're in this, this large trade hub. It's full of mercantiles and different type of merchants, and essentially, if you want to buy or sell things or start your trade shop, this is the place to do it, right? And so they enter into it, and one of the party members' backstories is they essentially want to open up their own portable caravan mercantile shop that deals exclusively in gems, but also has a built-in furnace so that they can craft the weapons along the way. So they want to be a portable blacksmith. And so they've heard of a legendary blacksmith that basically retired, but no one knows where he is and stuff like that. And so blah, 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 they need to try and figure out where he is because it's their life mission to learn under this person. This is what I mean by improv. It's all just fucking thinking of shit. And so, like you can get there, and then basically you can get to the point where you're like, cool, like, actually, when you enter into there is an entire basically blacksmith quadrant of this town where they're in it to get your business. So once you enter there, it's kind of like that market where they're all gesturing for you to come over, but instead they're basically showing you jewels and pendants and weapons that they've made with different steels and swords and steels and silver, and trying to draw your attention to there. And once you go in there, one of them, because you're really well versed in the makings of, or you've seen before the make and the models of this exclusive blacksmith, you can be like, hey, I've recognized that I think that might be like a sword that was made by this legendary blacksmith. And so you can go over it, and then you can be like, cool, like, you can be like, yeah, it is one. It's definitely one. You can roll history, but like with advantage or whatever, you can be like, but you recognize that immediately, and you're like, cool, gotcha. Let's do some of your backstory. And then because your other partners are there, they can either join in, and then you can make that part of your side quest there. Because you haven't latched onto another main story component yet, it's still fine to have a backstory side quest because the main story is at a pause point where there is so much other stuff you can do. They can still jump straight in and be like, no, I want to go do the main story. But they don't have to. So it's not as kind of breaking the immersion or breaking the story kind of like train that's going, because you're giving them so much freedom at that point that it's not like, oh, do I have to, like, oh man, a bandit stole your watch and that was integral to you, and once you find the bandit, you'll find also like someone that used to be like someone that you used to know back in your childhood, and that's your backstory and stuff like that. Those ones are kind of like you forced to do it. I don't like those ones where you get tidbits and you're like, this could lead to some of your backstory, and the rest of the party's like, oh yeah, I want to help out X player, let's do that. They're better. So that's the way backstories work. And then lastly with backstories, same thing with main stories. Have the end goal ready for your player's backstory. Don't tell them what it is, because if they're wanting to be a surprise, it's really fun to like get to that point. But the same thing as their main story, have the ending of your character, your player's backstories ready to go, so that their characters get a resolution before everything finishes, so that they feel content and happy, because you don't want anyone to be left behind by the end with unresolved things, unless you're like, guess what? Campaign 2 starts now, and everyone just jumps into it, and you're like, what? Even then, it's still not fun. But definitely have that end goal ready to go. That is an important, integral part. I would say it's more important because the main story is important to you. The characters are important to your players. And to be fair, without them, you're not a DMGM. You're just you at a table doing it by yourself. So you want them to feel engrossed in their characters and what's happening. So definitely have that. Next, descriptions. This is another one that is you will judge and notice as a DMGM straight away whether or not descriptions are needed or not needed. Simply because sometimes because you've done a few things and you want to be a bit better at it, you can go, hey, I want to actually start using more descriptive analogies or descriptive words, or describing the scenery a bit better. Some people love it. Some people can thrive off that because they can envision the area around them better, or the kind of sensations and smells and tastes and stuff. Some people, and like I said, we never judge. Some people don't. They just go, I realize we're in a tavern. I don't need to know that the tavern is hustling and bustling, because taverns are like that. I don't need to know that the bartender looks like this. I don't need to know what's happening by people playing dice. I don't need to know if there's a strange man in the corner who looks like Strider from Lord of the Rings who keeps eyeballing me, so I'm immediately going to go over and just slock him in the face or stop staring at me. I don't need to know those things. I just know I'm in a tavern, I'm here to do a job, and that's what I want to do. So you basically, as a DMGM, need to basically look. Either you can discuss with your party beforehand. Sometimes you don't really need to, because some people are like, that's fine. But you need to watch the reactions of your party members as you're describing things. And if they're kind of listening and going, oh, yeah, I understand, go for it. Go for your life. Start describing things in a way that is worded easily, so that you don't need to use, like, when it's like, it's same the Critical Role effect, where you use this really descriptive words that sometimes synonyms for, like, they're a synonym for, like, a real basic term that you could have just used that. Some people are like, why did you have to, like, a cacophony of noise when you can just use, like, it's the sound envelops the entire area. Like, cacophony is, some people don't know what that means. I like the word. No, I know it, but some people may not. So you use descriptions that you word it. So you basically have to work with your players. You start describing things, and if they start understanding and they go, yeah, I get it, got it. Use those types of languages. When you're just basically like, you enter into a cave and there's stalactites going from the floor to the ceiling, from the floor to the ceiling, from the ceiling to the floor, dripping endless bits of cold water that feel refreshing when they hit you when you walk under them. The cold air from the outside snowy breeze hits you, but it's less abrasive when you're inside of this cool cavern and everything like that. This den that you've tranced into under the snow, and all that type of stuff. You can keep describing it if you want, and some people are like, oh, I get it, I'm like, I can role play this, I can feel the shivers and stuff like that. Or some people are like, yeah, it's a cold cavern. Cool. Look at your players and stop when need to and continue when need to. That's a big one. Don't feel like you ever need to use massive descriptive words or big fancy words to describe things, when a simple sentence will do the exact same thing. Like, it was cold outside, you escaped the snowstorm into a cold cavern, but at least you're outside of the rain and the cold. You're outside from the rain and the snow. You take off your clothes, build a campfire ready to go to heat them up. There's rocky cavernous areas everywhere. There's a bit more to the cavern you can see further back, but you can't go there unless you explore. You still describe the cavern in a way that they go, cool, we can see we can keep going. We understand that we're cold and that we're going to warm up, and it still gets the message across just as well. Some people be like, oh, I really want to know, like, what's the temperature and stuff like that. You can do that if you want, but some people are like, it's really fucking cold. It's a snowstorm, bro. It's really fucking cold. So yeah, descriptions are, make what you want to do. Focus on your party's reactions, and if you start losing them because you're getting too descriptive, rein it in. Use medium level descriptive words. Don't use really fancy ones that they may not know the meaning to, because then you're just going to lose them straight up. Also, if some characters are of a low intelligence, you use all these really big fancy words around them, then they may just be like, huh? what? And you're just like, I get it, role playing, but also I realized I shouldn't have said those words. So that's what you can do as well. Descriptions is easy. We'll move past that. XP or milestones. This is like one of the longest debates in D&D history. You can choose what you will. The characters or players. I still always say milestone, simply because you feel more like it's a more rewarding process when you've accomplished some great deed, and you're rewarded. You're apart from the treasure, loot, titles, land, whatever you may get from it, story progression. The idea of getting a level up in your character, evolving from that situation, is I feel a much greater sense of accomplishment. It's also way easier for you as a DM GM to kind of gauge the combat systems and keep tabs of where your characters and their stuff are going in the actual campaign, so that you know by the end they should be roughly level 12. So you know by the end they may be able to fight the big bad, or they may not be able to counter this spell. You know, he's a giant demon swinging sword maniac, and they may be able to fight him one-on-one, man-on-man, but they may not. So it gives you an easier time of going, I can gauge where they should be up to and what's going on, versus XP. XP is still very handy because your characters can be like, cool, I want to do some more side quests, which gives you a chance to kind of flex your improv, flex your voices, learn a bit more, get more exposure, and practice. The only issue I have with XP is simply you can farm, just like in games. You can farm hard because they don't have to follow the main story. I mean, this is what the next one's about, railroading. Like, the DM might be like, no, that's it, we're moving on. And then players might be like, I don't want to. I'm enjoying what I'm doing. Like, you're kind of taking away the free agency if you're stopping them from farming. But also, if they do farm, because by D&D rules, everything has an XP total, and it adds up to your character, and they level up, and they thing. You can have, like, you can be, like, midway through the campaign and have, like, level 20 demigods running around, like, slinging, like, 7th, 8th level spells, 9th level spells at, like poor, like, lesser dragons who are like, I have 120 HP and I have no resistancy, and you just power word killed me. Sick. Because, like, you know, all running around, like, 300 HP. Like, it's very hard to, like, as a DM, to kind of rein in characters that are like, if I just farm for, like, 3 months, I will be a god. And nothing will be able to touch me. And all of a sudden, your, like, campaign of level 3 to 12 or 3 to 15 goes from 3 to 20, and all of a sudden every bad guy is just like, well, now the dragons are inhabiting the world. Well, now there's liches walking around everywhere. Like, well done, it's because you siphoned too much power, and that's better. All that type of stuff. What a good way for doing XP that I've found in the past, because I have done 2 campaigns with XP. I ran one and was a player in one, is each area has an XP cap. So the characters can only earn so much XP in, say, for instance, this town, before you basically go, cool, I'm in, this is a session 0 thing too, where you can be like, cool, I'm putting a cap on the amount of XP you can learn here. Sort of like milestones to a degree. Going just so that it makes you want to leave this town and do other things. And that is an easier way to control your characters from going full chaos power, hungry, things like that. Magic dementia, yeah. The anime way of losing all your power is to just get, like, onset dementia immediately. Like, they trip on a rock when they exit out, smash their, like, temple on the thing, wake up, who are you people? Their entire spell book is full of spells, but they can't remember any of them. All of a sudden, all the XP is nothing. Yeah. Or every Kingdom Hearts and Metroid game ever, where you just lose all your powers at the start because you have to get new ones. Yeah, exactly. Every Metroid game. to every Kingdom Hearts, every Metroid game, anything where basically like the main character's like, oh no, my powers have been taken away from me. And it's like, yeah, I get it. Would have been cool to start with them first and then build on the ones I already had. Don't make me do it again. But anyway, it's a different conversation. So yeah, XP and milestones. Decide what you want to do. There's negatives and positives for both. I find there's more positives for milestones because it's easier for you to control. But a lot of characters really love the idea of just killing and slaughtering things for the idea of XP. Or doing side things where they're like, hey, this says my reward is... It doesn't say XP 100. You say it gives you XP 100. But it also gives gold and stuff like that. So it gives the idea of like quests more meaning because they also get experience, which is benefiting their character. Railroading. This is a fun topic for every GM. When should you railroad and should you ever? I believe you can do subtle railroads when shit's going nowhere. There's such thing, I think, and that's why we have laws, as too much player agency. Only because you're going to start, unfortunately, coming across, and not every player's like this, where they're just like, every shiny bauble or every NPC they talk to, they want to help them, which is fine. There's the Silver Knights of the world who want to help everyone, you know, the Paladins of Good and Law who like, I will uphold the law, so I will become part of the city guard, and all of a sudden you're like, where you know, where is Traxxas? Where is he gone? And all of a sudden he's like, oh, I become a commander. Welcome. And you're like, cool. That's when you're like, shit. The main campaign, how are we going to get back on that? So, yes, I believe some railroading is appropriate. Mostly because you will find you can tell when you're starting to lose your characters, players. They may start being like, I'm kind of sick of this town, I don't want to do this anymore, stuff like that. That's when you kind of like, cool, let's make a story, like a story bait, like, you know, or a carrot and a stick. And they're like, ooh, shiny bauble, and you're like, yes, follow the shiny bauble, that's the main campaign. They're like, ooh, like zombies, go after it. Good afternoon, it's lovely to meet you. So easy ways to incorporate railroading into your campaign is very subtle. If you go, we've gone through all this. At the moment, we're discussing railroading and whether or not it's good, or if it's bad, or if it's in the middle. I believe it's in the middle because I believe it's always necessary to keep things going. Otherwise, your campaign will take 10 years. It was planned for, 1 year. A good way, so yeah, we'll start with the negative, like the real hardcore railroaders who are like the control freak DMs who are like, I only want you to follow the little breadcrumbs I've left you and nothing else. That doesn't leave a lot of player agency for your characters to really grow or experience the towns you've created or the world you created or the people too, like, because you're basically like, you enter into the major city. What do we call it? Villa. So you enter into Villa, and immediately you will say, like, some NPC who's pivotal to the main story runs up and goes, I recognize you from a letter that was sent from the person you spoke to in the last town. We've been expecting you, and grabs you by the hand and takes you to a certain area. Like, that's heavy railroading because you don't get a chance to experience this amazing city that you walked into. Like, you've just walked into this major city and you're like, I want to experience it. And instead, you've just been grabbed by the arm and thrust straight into the next part of the main story quest. That's not fun, because the whole point is you want to give your characters the chance to essentially experience the things you create, to learn, to grow, to be better, to, like, give them a chance to, like, flex your improv muscles, all that type of stuff. That's what you want to give them. You want to give them that opportunity. Yeah, correct. There's still an impending doom. Yeah. It's taken about 4 years to complete, so I can experience everything they want to, and they still end up going into the same route. That's exactly what I'm doing. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, correct. Yeah. I agree. That's the way I prefer it. So, like, Um, I give. That's why I'm the subtle railroading is the way I like to do it. So the subtle railroading is like you have the world. Here is the world I have given you. You may do what you want, and then you give them specific choices. Like there is a signpost that leads to this major city or this major city and stuff like that. Which way do you want to go? And then they can be like, yeah, cool. They get to like a side city, but you've incorporated some of the main story into that side city that still leads back into where you originally wanted them to go. They still get the agency to go and do what they want and explore this cool new side city, all these new people, all these new side quests, all this cool stuff, and even you can incorporate backstory into it. It's like you do what you want to do. It's your like campaign, but it's still the road will eventually lead to the main story. Again, that's subtle railroading because you've planted that kind of core story part that was going to be over here. Instead, you've just shifted it over to here and mixed it with this cool side quest. So they're like thinking like, oh, I got to do all this really cool stuff. You're like, yeah, you did, and it actually helped progress the main story. So awesome, congratulations! Like that was really awesome. I'm glad you got to do that. I had a lot of fun. You had a lot of fun. You're still going to get to the Z, but yeah, it may take longer, but they're having more fun. And I don't think the length of the campaign really matters too much. Sometimes it does. Some people can kind of, not too many. So a lot of people, most people who do Dungeons and Dragons realize that they're in for the long haul. But a lot of people start getting like, oh man, it's taking a bit of time and stuff like that. But I haven't met too many of those come across that. But yeah, it's definitely awesome to have subtle railroading. And if there's no railroading at all whatsoever, essentially you've given them the perfect chance for complete free agency where this is where they're like, I don't want to do the main story at all. And you're like, that's fine. I'm happy to do whatever you want. As long as you're okay with it, of course. But like you can be like, cool, I'm happy to do pretty much whatever you guys want to do. And I will DM for you. And it's more like them experiencing the world at their leisure. They may realize there's something bad is happening and they will have to get to it. Like the Majora's Mask method, it's like, yeah, the impending doom. The moon is going to crash and kill you all. Yes. But you've got ample time before that happens. You can do whatever you would like to do. Go have fun. Experience the world that I've created for you. Be free, my children. Like, just release them like toddlers in a McDonald's playground. Like just they scatter in different directions. And you're like, what have I unleashed on this world? I was gonna say like typing takes probably way too long. Yeah, so that's railroading. That's why I think railroading is. It's up to you. I like open how do you say it? Fervent Drift. I like that name. I like to open sandbox with plants, like plantations of your main story put into it so that they still progress it, but they feel like they're doing what they want. They still are doing what they want, but you're helping them along the main story by doing that. So next, there's not many left to go. I'm happy to do a voice discussion whenever you want, to be honest. Yeah, correct. Yeah, there is. Yeah. I will never do a full railroading session. That is not fun. I'm not in Discord. I'm literally just in like OBS, Stream Elements OBS. Yeah. I don't even think if I get Discord up, it will show on this overlay I've made. I'm practicing on it. I haven't got it up and ready yet. But I'll open Discord, see what we can do. Cool. While I'm trying to figure out that, and we can have a guest appearance, which will be fucking cool, we will do the next one. So, when I say practice on the fly ideas, embrace improv. Improv. Sorry, improv. Improv is very... Sometimes some people find it really difficult, and this is what I said before. I really like improv. I think I'm really good at it, and I really love doing it. because, like I said, some of the most fun and shenanigan-filled stuff, like, is, yeah, some of the most like shenanigan-filled stuff is all improv, and so it's unreal. But some people can kind of do that thing where they're a lot of, and this is, look, I do a lot of public speaking for work, so I'm used to it, same like streaming and stuff like that. I realize though my Discord is not connected to my OBS, so nothing will come through audio wise. So what I can do, if you're happy to, here, let's do this. Ready? That's my Discord. I don't mind. Add me on Discord, and then, because I'm going to keep doing this, we can discuss doing it next time. Because for this one, I actually have to fully stop the stream, add the overlay into it, and allow the permissions, because it won't work otherwise. So I would like to, because it sounds like a hell of a lot of fun. But I'll need you to send the invite first. Yeah, so improv is something that a lot of people are very, like, I would say they're very shy about, because it can, I saw the request to see. Some people are very, like, they have that issue where they use a lot, which it's fine too, where they kind of like, when you enter the town, you see that, you know, there's buildings everywhere, and, you know, the NPCs walk up there. Like, they may not be too confident with talking. They may not be confident with making up. There we go. They may not be too confident with making up things on the fly, or they may not be too confident with actual. Thank you. Yeah, they may not be too confident with descriptions or thinking of things like straight away. They may be very much like, I can think of very plain things, and I can think of them after a minute or two, but they may think that the players want to know now. They're like, I need to know now, like, what's happening? What does this NPC play? And stuff like that. That's where I found originally, way before, like, I do it now and it's just on top of my head. What's the other thing? Oh, take your time. Yes, that is a fucking good analogy. Correct. It is everyone, like I said, if you've got friends who are doing it with you, they're going to be fine with you being like, hey, I am not super like that. I like to think about what I say before I say it, and then you can come out and say what you're going to say. You give them like 20 to 30 seconds to think of something the NPC is going to say, and then you do it from there. I agree with you. That's awesome. So yeah, work with your players, and you as a DM GM, if you want to learn improv, apart from classes or being actors, you can essentially practice on kind of, it sounds really weird, but if you ever watch movies and you're like, why did this character do that when they could have done this? That is an improv moment. That is an improv moment you've just thought of and you've learnt from, where you're like, hey, I just thought of an immediate resolution to what could have changed in that scenario or that scene of that movie. I can remember to utilize that in my campaign. So when people are like, oh, I would really like to, like, you know, you walk up and you're like the generic tavern. You walk into the tavern, the orc bartender's like, hey, can I get you anything? We're having a 2-for-1 special ale at the moment. And he just plops them down in front of you. Most people are like, yeah, I'll drink the ale. Some people will be like, oh, you know, do you have any special... Yeah, correct. Don't be afraid to say no. It's not to say you're the boss. You sort of are. But, like, if someone's just like, hey, this NPC's backstory. Can I know, like, were they married? Do they have kids? Where do they live? Do they have a dog? Do they have a cat? Do they have a tabaxi pet? And you're going to be like, no, none of that is applicable. They're a standard orc tavern keep. And they're like, cool, it's fine. But yeah, if you just give a brief description of what they look like, and then you're like, actually, I want to improv. So if they ask, does he have any special drinks? You can be like, well, I never thought you would ask. I do have a special blend just for you. And you can say, like, he drops down behind the actual tavern counter and he actually brings out this large, like, it's instead of a wooden mug or a wooden ale mug, it actually brings you a glass. And you can see that, it's a red swirling liquid in it. You can just make up stuff like that. And then they're like, ooh, what does it taste like? And you're like, it tastes like fireworms going down your throat. You can actually feel like the tendrils of the fireworms going down your throat as it goes down into your gullet. But you feel there's like this intense warmth within you, as in like you're invigorated. And you can be like, cool, for your next, for the next day, you've got +5, permanent, or not permanent ones, temporary hit points. And because you improv that, they get it. So, that's something you can think of there. But like, if and Fervendrift's right. If it gets to that point where they're like going, hey, I want entire backstories to every NPC, you can just be like, no, this is a standard NPC. Then you don't need the details of this NPC's entire family history line. It's not relevant. it's not needed whatsoever. So yeah. Then you've got oh yeah, I am saying shit. I said like before, like as an example, like not to say it, and now I'm saying it because I said it once. It's that horrible, drug thing where it's like you habit, you had it. Have I? There you go. I'll shut myself up then. So yeah, I just did it again, motherfucker. Now I'm like constantly hearing it. Now I'm going to be self-conscious of it. So yeah, with improv as well, don't feel like you need to be over the top. You can be very standard with everything you say. You can give a very standard description of what you want to say, or like what you want to purvey to people. You don't need this large gargantuan law drop on people as a response. You can give a very simple response. If they ask, what does the tavern bartender look like, the keep look like, you can be like, oh, he's a tiefling, and it's rare to see a tiefling around here. And they'll be like, oh, that's cool, because some characters will just be like, oh, that's cool. They'll leave it at that. They won't push you for information. Some people might, but a lot won't. This is your God. Now I'm hearing myself saying it. Look what you've done to me. This is where you can practice your improv skills by changing what you can change. You can change your descriptive words. So instead of you saying like it's a red tiefling and they're rare around here, you can say it's a red tiefling. You can see he has battle scars on him, so he's an ex-warrior. Or he's an ex-fighter of some description like that. He's very muscly, he's very well built, and he doesn't look like he's like, should be a tavern keeper or a bartender, I should say. He's not a barkeep or anything like that. So that's when that's kind of like a law drop where they might be like, oh, I want to join in and actually like find out more about this. Cool. And then it gives you a chance to flex your improv muscles a bit more and do all that. So yeah, it's very handy. It's very handy to learn a little bit improv, but if you're not comfortable doing it, if you're not comfortable with the unknown aspect of your party members' questions, it's true. Just take it slow. Think about basically a real generic answer. You don't have to do, like, if you're learning, you don't have to do massive, huge descriptions. You can just do very generic, slow ones, like, X person looks like this is their build, this is what their race is, or whatever they want to look like, and they're behind the counter. That is a perfectly adequate enough response. And then you can, after a while of doing it enough times, because you've been given to improve the succubus when I ask about it. I can do that. So yeah, you can definitely, as like I say, as you start to do more DMing and GMing. It's a weird word because Australians or whatever, Eastern's DM and GMing. You will start to notice that you are able to think on the fly way quicker because you're the one describing the scenery. So when you're describing the scenery to players, when you're describing the scenery to players, straight away your mind is already thinking of what it looks like. So when you're visualizing it in your head and you've just given them a very basic understanding, you can then look and you're like, actually, what would I see? And you can describe it in a way that is more descriptive. So you can say, like, when you're in a lush forest, you can smell the pine trees around you. Or if it's in the Fae, you can say that the trees smell of popcorn, or they smell of different, cotton candies or caramel apples and stuff like that. You can actually do that because you're visualizing in your head, and then that is improv as well, because you didn't have to say it, or you can give that extra bit of tidbit. It's awesome. That's improv. Improv is like something that people are either like, it's practice. You just keep DMing and you keep describing things, and eventually you'll get to the point where you're like, you don't realize it, but you're like, when a character asks you, like, oh, actually, what can we do here? You can be like, this. And you're like, oh, that was improv. That was straight up improv. It was great. Last ones. We actually only have 2 to go. You've got combat goals. This is the flow of combat. The flow of combat is something that a lot of people sometimes struggle to get going. And also, is the combat fun, or is it just another fight? So when you're first doing your DM, like in the beginner one back at the start, and you're doing combat for the first time, you're just basically making fights. You're like, cool, I need a fight here to allow the customers, allow the players to utilize the skills and the characters they've created, because it's part of it. It's part of D&D is combat, and so they want to utilize their fights and their prowess and all their weapons and stuff like that. So you give them combat to do that. It's not until later that, after a while of doing combat after combat, that you can start incorporating differentiation in the combat that actually has story elements to it. Or you have NPCs that are actually in the fray and in the way, and actually you have to make sure they're safe and stuff like that. Or is there a consequence to this fight? Because, yeah, sure, you can be like, go kill bandits, which is something that does happen. But because you've killed those bandits, is a rival gang that is much stronger been waiting for this time to come in and do, like, take over this land, and you've just given them the perfect opportunity to do it, and you didn't know. So you leave this town, because you're like, I've killed the bandits, and they were actually like, yeah, they're bad, but what they're doing is they're keeping a much larger clan at bay, and now you've just given them like free reign for this other bandit class to come in and take over, and they're much worse. So that's something it's a little harsh. It's actually very harsh, that like you can have consequences to combat. So you can start incorporating, like I said, you can incorporate story into it, so that combat becomes a more story driven plus fighting element, rather than just blood, murder, kill. Which is, some people are just like, I like that. I've definitely had players that are just like, I just love to kill things, and I'm like, that's fine. I'll have combat for you to do that. That is okay. But there are some times where they're just like, I would just like to have combat for the sake of what's going to happen next. Group of Fears Guild members that were there to help because of their paranoia. Clerics refused to learn their instruction. They murdered the cleric and bows and of course, Fireball. Everyone's favorite AoE spell of death. It's great. Everyone move out of the way. If you don't, well, it's your own fault. But the flow of combat is also very important. So at the start, a lot of players are learning their characters, their attacks, what they can do, what the numbers on their sheet mean, what the dice roll means. So it can be a little bit of a slow process. And so you're also learning initiative and all that type of stuff like that. Whereas if we're at an advanced point, you've done a couple of you've done a couple of campaigns, like the module ones. Do you understand how combat works? This is where you can start prepping are the other players ready for their turn, so they understand what's going on. So you can be like, cool, player one, like, what would you like to do? They have a visualization of the field and stuff like that. You can be like, cool, up next is bandit 1 or bandit 2, whoever it might be, and after that is player 2. So just so they are aware of focusing on, not entirely on, oh my god, when's it my turn? They know their turn's next after the bandit, so they can start utilizing their time to think about what they're going to do when it comes up to their thing, and they can react to player one's attacks and then bandits attacks and stuff like that, and then they make their attack. So just giving people the heads up of when they're going to be next, which is once again a Critical Role thing I learned from, but it helps so much. It helps so much with the flow of it, because the whole point is the idea of your turn in combat is 6 seconds. So if you're thinking about it in real time, it's literally this slash sword, move to the next. Like, it's all happening at once, which is how I do tavern fights, by the way. Get ready for that. It's about that whole forward momentum that's supposed to be really quick, but we take turns because, well, it's make believe. So, yeah. What's this? Yeah, it's good. So, yeah, flow of combat is something you will learn to kind of help guide, and it's also the players. The players will learn their characters more and more and more as the as the campaign and stuff goes on. And as it goes on, they'll get more proficient, they'll understand their characters more, and you'll just notice that the flow of combat starts becoming faster because they'll understand the characters and what they're going to do more. And then that's where you can start adding creatures with resistances or immunities, or they have they'll start putting status elements on their characters, and that's when you start introducing like those cool mechanics where all of a sudden they have to think differently, like lair actions or legendary actions and all that stuff. That's when it starts getting a little bit difficult, and they're just kind of like, oh, you mean I can't just punch things to death? You can. It just may not work, or it may take longer now, or they may be filled with poison and you're punching a gelatinous cube, and why would you do that? But yeah, that's where it gets a bit different. And then, like I said, incorporating story into the combat becomes a more worthwhile kind of implementation of your story into the combat, because you can be like, hey, it's you were told to go do this by the mayor of this town, but why are you doing it? Is it because he asked you to do it and he was going to give you a reward? That's fine, because that's what adventurers do. You're a mercenary, essentially. But why is he asking you to do it? And then you can get there and you can realize that maybe they were actually smuggling out people because, the actual mayor is forcing people to stay in this town. He won't let them leave, and they're smuggling them out. Yeah, they're doing it illegally and they're bandits, but they're doing it for the right reasons. But yeah. Yeah. I did have someone punch gelatinous cube to see what happened. It's like, yeah, imagine punching jelly, but it absorbs you. So yeah, the why and what's happening. Sometimes they might question why they're fighting these people, or you can start conversations with players, enemies during combat, because they're human too. Well, they're human, but they're people too. There is a reason why they're doing this. Maybe they are just pure evil, malicious, and they want to ban it and sack things. Maybe they're doing it because they have no reason not to. They have to do it because they need to fit their family. There's a whole reason. That's where you can start incorporating those into them. And then last, ignore the last one. That was just shit. I don't mean that seriously. So, and when I mean your big bad ideas, what I mean is, like I said before, you can have a full campaign with or without a big bad at the end. You don't have to have one. Yeah, it's cool to have one because that's your end point, and that's where you're heading to. By the way, like your end goal, you can see it, you can visualize it, you can visualize the fight, what we have to get to. Once that big bad is dead, we're done. But you don't have to do that. You can end your campaign in various other ways. Like, for instance, the pocket watch pieces that the campaign we're doing now, they're trying to find so they can fix it. They could essentially fix it, take it back to Mr. Light, and he's like, you've done it. My God, thank God. And then all of a sudden, people's memories flow back, and they're like, I've been away from my family for like 5 years. And I need to go, and then they can leave. Like you know, like congratulations, you've done it. Like embellish it a bit more than that. You can essentially like that. It can end like that, or you can be like, there's one last blockade before you can get back to the carnival, and that's the big bad or something like that. Either way, you have an ending that you make satisfying for your party. Yeah, Jesus Christ, yeah, War of Gods would be cool. Yeah, you don't have to have a big bad. It is like most people prefer it because that's the fantasy trope of having something to work towards, something to strive and kill when they want to. Endless campaigns. What is that guy that's doing like a 40-year campaign? Man, that's commitment. 40 years. Like he's been doing it from like the 80s. I'm like, what? Dear Lord. Like, so I'm sure there's an ending somewhere, but they're just like, hey, you want Endless Sandbox? There's Endless Sandbox. What I'd like to do is you can incorporate a second campaign immediately into the first one. So you do your big bad or not, you finish it, and then you give the option to the players. You do, like, if you want to keep these characters, something else will happen, and you think of the story to incorporate it into, and they can be like, let's keep going. And campaign 2 starts, and you're doing it that way. I think that's how Critical Role does it, actually. Some of their characters cross over. Yeah, they do. Yeah, so the big bad's your choice. Don't ever feel pressured to need to do it because your players want to fight something big and evil. You can still have something big and evil, but it doesn't have to be the end of the campaign. That's a major thing. Like, it's called the big bad because it's a big baddie, but that doesn't mean that's how the campaign ends. The campaign ends because you have an endpoint, and that big bad can maybe literally come in midpoint of the campaign, and you kill it, and now you're still dealing with the repercussions of killing it, and then you also have still like the tasks to finish the campaign. So it's not actually, it's not the big bad end game. It's just the big bad, and it happens to be a really cool fight you get midway. Yeah, it is. It is very much like that. Yeah. It is very much like the Critical. That's typically going to do it correct. So choose yourself. Choose if you want to do the big bad, and if you want to do it, go for it. There's plenty of cool ideas. You can either like we said before, like if you find people online that you want to talk to about your ideas and flourish them and increase your knowledge of like cool ideas, gather other people and talk to them. There's literally forums for it. You can do this. You can do discussion streams about things where you can talk to people about it, so they can actually have like full conversations about increasing your knowledge base and cool ideas you can incorporate, and then decide whether or not you want to do one, because you're going to have enemies in your campaign. I don't think I've ever seen a campaign without them, to be honest. It's a bit odd. You could do it, but yeah. But yeah, it's good to talk to other people and kind of discuss ideas. Because when you discuss ideas, you're literally just increasing your knowledge of ideas and increasing your kind of improv skills as well. Because when you're discussing with other people, you can do that too. Yeah, it could be that true. Like, oh, I've been playing for like 2 years and I know everything about D&D. And it's like, okay, that's nice. Cool. Good for you. Tell me when you've run like a 3-year campaign with like 6 to 8 people and it's still going. But yeah, it's sometimes I said in the beginning one, you can talk to actually some people that have never played Dungeons and Dragons before, because sometimes they have the best, like, not like I say knowledge. I have no idea what I'm doing. That's what we're all doing, man. That's just life. We're here to exist and not know what we're doing. Yeah, like I said, you can talk to people that haven't played Dungeons and Dragons because they have a completely unbiased and unknowledgeable skill set of ideas that you can be like, oh, actually, like if you give them the idea, like my big bad is going to be when there was a war and they defeated the big bad, the captain or the commanding knight was possessed as a last testament of the big bad before he died, and the commander died as well. He sacrificed himself. Now he's come back as a hollowed suit of armor that hell bent on basically upholding the law to the higher degree than it should be. Any type of crime is seen punishable by death, and he just offs them, and he's become so powerful because he's still got shards of all the possession of the last big bad. And so you can be like, what do you think about that? So someone who's never heard it before, they can be like, that's really cool. Or like, what if he does it? They're going to have a completely unbiased and non-knowledgeable, I can't think of words, but yeah, they're going to actually have ideas that you've never heard of before, because they don't play D&D, they don't know the rules, they don't know the background, they're just hearing it for the first time, and they're going to be able to go like, hey, yeah, that's really cool, like, what about this? And you'd be like, that's awesome, and steal it, because that's what D&D is. Stealing other ideas, incorporating into your own to say that it is unique when you know it's really not, but still fun. But yeah, your big bad, to get back to it, is yours to own, and your onus to do with what you will. Never let anyone else say, yes, like graphic design. It is never anyone else's place to say what you can and can't do in your own campaign, because it's your own campaign. If you really even wanted to, I don't recommend it, but you can discuss the idea of, do you want a big bad in the campaign to your players? Majority of them will say yes, because it's a big fight, and everyone likes fighting, of course. But you can maybe just go, oh, that's cool, we can have one, but this isn't how my campaign ends. So yes, that is something you can do. And then the last one is, do we level up? And the answer is no. It's always no. The answer will always forever be no. It's no until I say it's yes, and then it's yes. I get it's a joke, but man, it's just kind of like, it doesn't annoy me, because I find it humorous no matter what, every time. But if they ask that don't receive it, it's a very good way. Which means that, like, the last campaign I ran would be forever at, like, level 5. They would never go up a level. Yeah, the GM guides are great, actually. That's why YouTube has some really well-informed and really good opinionated D&D YouTubers that I listen to all the time, that have really cool ideas that they actually read the comments too. So when you read the comments, they actually do listen. They listen to some of the stuff you have ideas. A lot of them you can email too. I found it recently. There's a bunch of D&D YouTubers that you can email them, and they will respond to your ideas and they'll discuss it with you. It's really cool, actually. The DM's venting. It's either venting or tangents. I go on tangents very easily. It's very easy to go on a tangent. Like, it is so easy to go on a tangent. But yes, Phobomancer's right. Books are awesome to read, because the sheer, like, lore you can absorb from them, and I just mean like fantasy novels, but like there are full, like of course, read the core books, because the core books actually have really cool story elements that you can take and incorporate into your own, and you can also read the actual story of Strahd and stuff like that. It's really well written. It's written by professionals, and there's a reason why it's still going now, so you can always read those as well. But you've also got the side books, and then you've got just mini one-shots. You run one-shots, and sometimes you can steal your ideas from yourself. But yeah. I'm never reading a book. Speaking of books, let's go on a tangent. Why not? Because we're actually done this stream. The new Witcher book comes out tomorrow. I'm hella excited to read it. The Crossroad of Ravens. It's a prequel, and it's young girls. I'm very excited to read it. I'm super excited to read it, actually. My Amazon order, they've promised me, even though I live regional, is coming tomorrow in the morning. I don't believe it, but damn, I want to read it. I'm actually really excited to read it. We got a Witcher prequel before we got the end of Game of Thrones. How good is that? We got before GTA 6. So man, yeah. Should I just do a stream where I young girls, young Geralt. Oh my god, no, it's a prequel book about witches and young girls. Andrei Sapkowski's listening right now to the stream, and he's just like, "That's my next one coming up." Could do a DM rant stream. That could work, because the tangents and rants would be endless, and also just the story times. Yes, I know. I'm well aware. We'll go on a tangent of big vampire mummy goth girls that I certainly do not always force into every campaign I run because I have an obsession with them. You know? It's fun that way. Oh, it's a really good brownie. Shit, that's awesome. Yeah. I reckon I will do that. We'll do a DM rants one. Oh, dude, that's fine. I get you. Thank you. I'm literally like, for me, it is 11 o'clock at night. So I'm going to end this in a session. But I do like the idea of a damn rant stream. That's actually awesome. Because, man, I have had some terrible players and some terrible DMs of me when I was a player. And I'll shit you not. Let's do on one more tangent. Yeah, I'm AEST. AEST, yep. It's been so long since I've been a player. I don't mind being a forever DM. That's one of the main things. Actually, onto a tangent, because, you know, Critical Role Season 4 starts on October 2nd, and I watched that thing where Matt Mercer's playing like a prick of a character, and I was like, that's so cool. I'm actually really excited to see a forever DM be a player, so I'm really excited to see that. It's something I want to try. I might try it soon. We'll see if I can find a group of people when I'll be a player. It'd be cool. But yeah, that damn ranting, my god, the stories I've lived with, and also what other people have gone through in their own sessions with a bunch of DMs that just say they're like, oh, I'm an expert at this, I know all the rules and all this stuff, and they just start making up their own bullshit, and then you're just like, well, that's not right, and that's not right, and they don't listen, and all of a sudden you're like having a campaign where you're so obsessed with having a drink and eat that your character gets exhausted if they walk for more than 3 hours because they're a heavy set character, so they're not built like that. It's yeah, that did happen. I was in a campaign where we had to take walking breaks because the physical race of one of the characters was larger, as the DM said that they couldn't walk as much because they would get tired, and I was like, that's not how that works. That is not how that works. That is some kind of ableist, or whatever you want to call it. Like, there's some kind of negative connotations to what you're doing here. But also, you know, we had to bring enough rations, hunt food. If we failed to hunt, we didn't eat. We had to drink, which you drink anyway, but like we had to find streams. If there's no streams, to start getting high thirst. We had a warmth meet. I don't even like thinking about it. That was the hardest 3 months I've ever had to play D&D. That was not a fun time. I'm getting flashbacks. Why did we think this was a good idea? Fuck me. Jesus Christ. I'm getting legit flashbacks of like the I'm doing it. It's gonna happen. I'm gonna do it. Like, it's PTSD and D. I'm gonna do a DM rant one now because like I've got some sick stories. I want to hear the sick D&D stories of like horror stories that other players have like had to deal with, because there's some whoppers, like real whoppers, like being in campaigns where like the DM basically like made a character not say no, like they was hitting on another player, and it's just not right. It's not right. It shouldn't be allowed. It's so gross. But they they go on a power trip. That's the lovely thing that us DM/GMs have, is we have a little bit of extra power because we're in control of the space and the the story and the narrative and stuff. And because of that, you're on a power trip. And when you're on a power trip, you think you can do anything without repercussions. You forget it's the real world, and people have free reign to stand up and go like, "You're a piece of shit," and then clock you one or just walk away. It's just you gotta. There's still a line between make believe and real life, and some DMs can't find that line. They just think it's once we're in D&D, it's all D&D, and nothing else outside takes you. If your phone goes off, if you touch your phone, oh, that's another one. Oh, I can't do this to myself. I'll be here till like 1 a.m. That same person that ran that session where they were like, you need to eat, drink, do all this stuff like that, we weren't allowed to touch our phones at all. He would actively like threaten to like walk out. Like he was like, I will pack this up and walk out now, and I'm done. I was like, I'm sort of having fun behind all the excessively large amount of rules. I'm sort of having fun. The people I'm with are pretty cool. You're a bit of a crazy knobhead, but I'm having fun. And he did one time. He literally got up and left after I think 35 minutes of the session starting. Like, literally, like, he literally, like, what happened? Oh, one of the players' mums was unwell, and she called, and this player was so scared to like pick up the phone because the minute it rang, DM just eyeballed the phone as if watching it like ring. It's like a horror story. The phone's ringing and this DM's like staring at the phone instead of at the person. The person's just like watching the DM like not blink. And I'm like, I'm slightly terrified here. Something's gonna jump someone. And the phone stopped ringing. It says mum. And the player left it for, I reckon, like an extra 15 minutes. It didn't ring again, but you could hear like the message tone go off twice. And after all, so we got there at 7. We ordered dinner. The dinner rocked up 5 minutes into eating the dinner, because we're playing while eating dinner, and you couldn't have a, oh my god, you couldn't have a mouthful of food and talk, engage your character. He picked the phone up as I was talking my character, Dragonborn, because they're always Dragonborn, because they're the best race. Picked his phone up, literally pushed the unlock button on the side to read the message. The DM just goes, fuck, alright then. And as I'm mid-talk, I was like, oh, okay. Literally gets the what's it called? The DM screen, sorry. Folds it up. Just like, and a jokingly arm sweeps all of the miniatures into like his open backpack, just sweeps them into it. Rolls up the mat that we're using to draw on, and zips up the bag angrily. Looks at the player that had looked at his phone. He's just like looked at the phone and just put it straight down as we're watching this envelop. And he just goes, I'm never coming back. You're not worth my time. I will find people that actually respect my rules and my campaign. And I never saw him again. It was like a weight was lifted off my shoulders when that man walked out of that house. Also, you know what's weird? It was his house. So like he walked out of his own house and left. He drove off. So we all left this dude's house. And like, when we left this dude's house, we left and we like locked the door. And we're like, what the fuck? He just left us in his own house. He drove off in a rage. And I was like, alright, cool. So like, I stayed for a cup of tea. Like, it's just saying, well, he's never coming back. Does he have any cool consoles he doesn't need? You should have rather start saying it's. I am. You know what? I'm going to do it. The next stream is going to. Well, the next stream should be our session, but I'm going to do this ranting one because I want to hear horror stories. Like that was one of them. I've had one where like the husband and wife were fighting the entire time. had a DM like, yeah, sexually like hit on player. It's just, it's unreal. But yeah, he left. He literally drove off. He drove off, and then we packed our stuff up. I said, I think there's a lock his doors, one of the wooden ones. I locked it and then just kind of slammed it shut. We all left, and then I did not get a message from him ever again, at all. And I worked with him too. He just never showed up for a shift ever again. He just left the work. Oh, that's right. He literally just left. Like, he left. Like, I worked with him. And he literally got up out of his house, left. I was supposed to have a shift with him 2 days later. And then my manager's like, oh, yeah, X person, he's left. He works at a different store now. He fucking, like, up and left. It's psychotic. Just that little bit. This is great. Anyway, what a tangent. This is why I like streaming. I'm glad I'm streaming again. This is the type of shit that my brain forgets. That was a thing that happened. It just leaves the country. Like, it's just, man, it was wild. We hurt that man so much by doing one action, which was party members' mother was sick, required him to pick up medicine on the way home. So, literally, like, looked at the phone, and we never saw that man again. In fact, I was supposed to see the man again, and he literally left the store and moved stores, and then left the company like months later anyway. But D&D brings the worst and the best out of people, and I got to see both sides of it. It was great. Anyway, so after that long-winded tangent of the tale, it's practice for a fetch quest. Yeah, he's still doing it. He's still on that fetch quest. He hasn't succeeded yet. Don't think he will. All he's going to get is a couple of copper and a pat on the back and some maybe morale points in the right way. Paragon. But with that, at the end of it, I'm going to do a rant stream, because this was fun at the end. Won't lie. But anyway, those are the tips. You want to go back and watch it to see what you missed, please do, because I upload them all. And then I'll do an experts one sometime soon. The experts one is... It's not really expert, because by the time you've done all this, you're pretty much really there. I'll be honest. It's maybe learning some more rules and stuff. The expert one is more about just ideas that you may not have heard about, or some cool ideas that you can incorporate into yours, or maybe some rule sets, or it's things that, like, they're outside the norm. I wouldn't say they're expert. They're just different, because expert's not really an expert. Like, everyone's comfortability level's higher and lower on what they do and what they understand, but it's just like, when you get to this part in the middle, you're already working on bettering yourself as a DM and GM. So by the end of this, you should be well proficient to do what you want to do. Like, there's not really much more you can do after this. There are some ideas I have, and I'll jot them down. But that's the next one. And then we'll do a rant one, because that was a lot of fun. So, with that, I thank every single person, new and old, that have joined. Please follow, because I'm going to keep doing these, and they're a lot of fun, and I'm going to have a shower because my hair looks gross. But I had a shit ton of fun tonight, and I enjoy discussing all of these with people. So thank you for joining. I love you all, and I will catch you on the next stream. So